I'm Paul.
I'm Devin.
Together, we're Dads and Dice, two brand new dads who like to play some games during our free time.
That's right, and we just got done with this playthrough of MEADOW. This game, I find, it is a complete blast. I like this game. It's not, for me, it's not the theme, it's just I don't know, there's something about it that I really like. There is some strategy. It is also just grabbing points, so I don't know. It's a really good game for me.
It's real funny you say that because this isn't your type of game either, right? Like it's collecting points here and there, and like you mentioned during the playthrough, you have no idea who's in the lead. It is very thematic, right? So it's not the kind of game that you generally go for, but on our top 5 from BGG Spring, it was on there for you,
I think
right?
this was like somewhere around number 3,
yeah.
right? If I have to remember exactly what they were, but I know it was definitely up there. I think there is still a whole lot of strategy with what seems like a basic game, right? It's not all that basic, right? Yes, it is. Okay, you just pick a little a beginning field area, and then you have the butterfly eat the caterpillar or whatever it is, right? And work your way up. But there's a lot of strategy. There's a lot of planning for the second half of the game, making sure that you have the symbols you're going to need, the ones that are not going to show up for that second
And
half.
I think that kind of lays into what you like about games is, right? There's a goal at the end that you need to collect all the basics. You need to collect, like I was calling them, the trash beetles, right? You need all the land, the small insects to later build onto it to actually get those bigger animals. And I think that's what you enjoy about games is planning for the final. Right?
I agree. Those final scoring moments. I also really enjoy this mechanic here.
Yes.
I don't know. There's something about how can I plan that? Like in this game here, I knew I had access to early fences due to the cards I was holding to start with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my exact thought was, okay, how do I get the ones connected to the fences?
Yeah.
And then where do I get that third point, right? And for me, it was, well, this is going to be way late game, so let me try and hurry up and get this one right here.
Yeah. And I mean, that completely messed me up, right? Because I was going for the butterfly and tree, and I had it, but I was going to get it, but I looked over and noticed you had already had it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man. And then I was left with the butterfly and the mushroom and the wolf, which, like you said, the wolf is in the north deck.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of stop that strategy for a bit, plan a little bit later, but make sure that I didn't cover up all my bases because I knew the wolf was going to need something from the early rounds to build upon it, right?
Yeah.
I think this right here is the coolest mechanic, right? Like, you can place it here, you can place it here, you can go here, and you really have to think about what you're doing. There was one point where I had a card, it was right here, and I was like, okay, I can use my 2 or my 3. It really depends where Devin's going. And I had a feeling you were going to go in one of those spots, and you did. So I had thought about it earlier. I was like, okay, I've got to save my 3 and my 2 because that's the one way to get it. So it's just so cool how, like, it's just a little pointer, right? But it's so versatile. And then the little action on the bottom, right? I really took advantage of this over here. And I don't know, it's just so cool.
Yes, I really do enjoy this pointer mechanic. I think it makes the game so strategic for where you're going to place, for even blocking out, right? I thought in the later rounds, I definitely wanted to get into these because they're the most valuable point getters.
Yep.
And then we talked about it during the game. The 1s and 4s, they're like, oh, my 1, I don't want to use my valuable 1. And I didn't quite know why is that one more valuable. But if you think about the way that the board is laid out, right? So the 1s has access to 10 different spaces, right?
Yep.
But then when you think about the 2s actually only have access to It would be this column.
8.
I lied. It's actually also 10 different spaces. So I don't know. It's just, I guess it's just the way that it's laid out, because now that I think about how it flares out there. But for something about it, the 1s and the 4s always were the ones that, I want to save my 1 or my 4 for grabbing something right on the edge.
So to me, I think the 1s and the 4s are the most valuable, but not for this board. It's for this board. Right? Like, on that last round, I got to play the play 2, and then I copied the play 2 with that. But my other option was, if you had gone to one of those spaces that I wanted, I was going to play my 1 over here and just draw a random card, right? So if you did block me out, I still had access to that card from that one. Card. So that's why I think the 4 and the 1 are the best ones on here. I really like the road part of it too. And the first time we played it, you didn't hit that very much either, and I did. And I don't know, to me it seems like that's where the high value cards are, right? I'm getting 3, 3, 2, 2. When most of the ones in the early stages, at least, is just 1 and 2, maybe a few 3s. When the North deck comes out, there's a few 4s. But I feel like the points are really up here. Now, I say that I had 5 and you had 1. So
I think that is true. They're high point values, but you do have to weigh in the consideration that you have to use a turn to then go get road tiles, which is not a points earning turn, right? True. So I think it balances out that way, right? You spend a turn getting 2 tiles to then place. They're roughly each worth 3, 4 points each. But you take away a couple points from, instead you could have played the 2 and grabbed this and gotten a straight 3 point, or earlier in the game a 1 or 2 point card. So I think it balances. I think there's just a lot of different ways of scoring points, and it really balances out really well.
And it really does. And the designer did a great job at just balancing the game, right? Because, I don't know, like when you're saying that, in my head I immediately went to, but then I'm going to play 2, right? So I lose a turn, but I can also kind of gain one back, right?
Yeah.
And again, going back to that play 2, you start off with 5 cards, right? So you're never going to play them all, right? So you're always going to have extra. So that one I don't know. And I think you won both playthroughs that we played, right? Yes. So I don't know. There's definitely a lot of strategy, and it doesn't look like a game that would have a lot of strategy, and it does. It was my number 1 pick from my top 5. I'm still sticking to that. I love this game. I've had a couple playthroughs of it. My wife loved the game. This one is definitely staying in my collection. So
I will be the theme guy for one time. The theme doesn't really grasp me, or I think I even talked about, like, if I saw this game on the shelf, I would so walk by it, right? Like, this would not grab me one bit at all. The one thing I find really, really neat about this game is, and it doesn't even really go into it too much, but it's the way the cards build on each other. Mm-hmm. If you just look at their artwork, it tells a story.
It does.
Right? It'll be something like, well, I, of course, can't just randomly grab one real quick, but it'll be something like...
Like, you have the house that builds right on top of the foundation, right? Yeah. So you have that. My bird one was pretty cool. My hawk one, wherever that one is, it needs a tree, it needs a frog, and then it needs one of the claws on, or one of the paws on there, right? Because that's the food that it's eating.
Yeah,
and that's the environment it needs to be in.
Right. So you have the basic foundations, and then it'll be something that would eat the frog, right? And then something that would eat that, or possibly just something that grows in the forest, and then the forest turns into, the fungus turns into a tree. Or one that I noticed that was a pretty neat card was the praying mantis, and I think that's what I was going to say. The praying mantis is neat, where it needs bugs, but it's also a bug.
So it's the beetle card, but it's a different type. It's not just the basic beetle.
Right.
So yeah, it needs the butterfly or the caterpillar or the basic beetle to get it. And yeah, I thought of that card too. That one's a really cool
Yeah,
one.
or like you got the house cat, which was like the top predator, and you know it's a
and it needs a house.
And then these were typically like rodents and whatnot.
Exactly.
And
so it's going to eat the rodents and all that.
As I said, themes don't typically just grasp me. This one typically wouldn't, but just the way that the mechanic of it is, it really is.
It's narrative in a way.
Yeah, it's a nice touch without like, it really doesn't tell you that. You just kind of figure out that's how it is. So.
Yeah. So anyway, that's our thoughts on MEADOW.
Yeah, so thank you guys for watching this. As always, go check out our playthrough. It was a lot of fun. We probably always have fun playing this game, and hopefully we'll have more playthroughs with the wives or others. It's a game that does play very well with more players as well.
Yeah, it doesn't add much time or anything like that to it. So
so thank you for watching. If you like this video, give it that like. If you are new here or you just realize that you're watching a lot of our videos, go ahead and subscribe. It really does help us, and it'll help you get that content in those videos. Other than that, that's all we have. This was MEADOW. Thanks. Board here. Oh no, go. This is not happening right now. Go. Elsewhere.